What's up, everybody? It is Chris from Profoto. Welcome to Geared Up. This is our weekly live broadcast where we talk about all things lighting, from light setups to gear to the science of how it all works. We generally just try to have a good time, talk about some lighting stuff, and chat it up. So if you have any questions, feel free to throw them into the chat. We'll be talking about all kinds of stuff, but today we're talking about the launch of two new light shaping tools for our Clic lineup. The first is the new gel holder, which I have the little Profoto card thingy backwards. We'll talk about this here in just a second. And then also the new Clic Fresnel, which is a really, really cool light shaping tool. Again, Clic for the A series of lights. So let's dive into first. I'm going to talk about this for a split second, then we're going to roll a video because, as you can see, I'm sitting here right now without my cohort, Kate. She is doing her opera thing up in Princeton, New Jersey. So if you're in Princeton, go check out Kate singing some opera stuff next weekend. So the first thing you have is the new gel holder. So the cool thing about this is, you don't have to decide if you want to buy individual gels now. So, or if you want to use something that we don't make, like maybe a sheet of diffusion, or maybe something that's like infrared or something like that. Or if you want to do something that's good for like black light photography or something like that, you can do that. The nice thing is it clips open just like this. It has a template on the inside of it. It's a metal template. The cool thing about that is that if you're using an X-Acto knife, I don't have my X-Acto knife, but the cool thing is you can trace around this with an X-Acto knife to just get the proper size shape, and you don't have to worry about kind of cutting into the template, which is nice. So a nice little aluminum template. Then you just take your gel, or in this case, I don't have a gel cut for this right now, so I'm just going to put the template in there. So you just simply put the gel into the front of the holder like this. You just clip it closed, just like that. And now you can use, like I said, diffusion or any other type of gel that you want to use inside your Clic light shaping tools, and you don't have to decide if you want to buy a whole bunch of individuals, which is kind of nice. So this is a nice little setup. The cool thing too is it is actually front and back stackable. So the magnets that access the front are here, kind of over where the gel is. So you can actually put something on the front of it just like that. But also, if you wanted to, I don't know how well it's going to work with the this barn door here. I haven't really messed around with it too much, but don't know if the leaves are going to be in the way, but let's see. And then you can, with the barn door, not so much with the back stack, just because it's not really happy with all the extra little stuff. But again, you could front stack it, no problem. So then you have the new Fresnel. And again, I'm not going to talk about this too much here because you're going to see some comparisons here in just a second on the actual video that we're going to roll. But really, really nice light shaping tool, really thin. That's the beauty of a Fresnel, is you can get this nice thin, lightweight material, this light shaping tool, because of the way that it's cut, allows for really cool light control, beautiful light pattern, kind of that cinematic Fresnel look that everyone really loves. But it's a very nice light shaping tool. So with that being said, I'm going to be hanging out here. So if you have any questions, I'm going to be monitoring the chat. We can talk about stuff there. But I'm going to roll a video that we shot comparing the new light shaping tools, or mostly the Fresnel. The gel holder is kind of self-explanatory, so we're really only talking about the Fresnel with this, and we can compare it to things like the Clic Magnum to give you an idea of what things do what. One thing that I will say, I say in the video at one point that you could probably use this on the C1 Plus. I have since used it on my C1 Plus. I would say don't do that because of the kind of the 5 LEDs right there. It actually produces 5 different light sources because the light's so pointed and focused. It does that. So I would say don't take my advice in the video, and I wouldn't use this on a C1 Plus. So the Magnum seems to be okay with it, though it makes some funky light patterns, but still kind of cool. But that being said, we're on the video. I'm in the chat. Let's talk. What's going on, everybody? We are super stoked about 2 new Clic modifiers that were added to the lineup of light shaping tools. We have our new Clic gel kit, which is going to let you kind of put whatever type of gel you want inside this. And we'll talk about this briefly, but what we're really going to dive into is this cool little thing, the Clic Fresnel. And we're going to do a little bit of comparison. We're going to talk about some of the specs on what it can do and stuff like that. But real quick, let's just talk about the gel kit. So the nice thing about something like this is it's going to allow you to put whatever type of gel or diffusion or whatever it is that you want to put into the kit. So it just clicks open like this. It has this little silver template for, you could use it to draw your, you can use it to draw out onto your gel and cut it out, but easier than that, it's actually metal. So it can handle you just pushing this down onto your gel, taking an X-Acto knife or some sort of razor blade and just tracing around it. You have to worry about cutting into it because you're not going to go through it. And that will give you a perfect template to set it right inside of the front here, and then click it shut like that. It is only it's only back stackable. What that means is we'll use the gel kit for example of that. So like from the front, I take it back. It's actually front and back stackable. I was looking at the edge of this the holder right here and didn't realize that it's actually inset. So it is front and back stackable. So the cool thing is you could put your gels behind the light shaping tool, or you could put them in front of the light shaping tool. So if you decided you wanted to do like some diffusion gel or something like that, you can put that in the front. That's where you usually want diffusion, is at the very front of all the light shaping tools. And then if you want to do some sort of a colored gel or something like that, you could put it behind the light shaping tool. So that's really cool. So again, not really too much crazy about a gel kit other than the fact that now you have the ability with the Clic system to cut out any type of gel or diffusion that you might want. Now, let's get into the Fresnel. So this is a really, really cool device. It's got a relatively tight beam. I believe it's about 35 degrees, if I'm not mistaken off the top of my head. Sometimes I try to remember these numbers and they go out my small head, but it's a large head, but it's not, it doesn't have anything inside of it. Yeah, it doesn't have anything inside of it. So, but it's about 35 degrees on the beam spread. And what's really dope about this thing is kind of like the Magnum reflector, it's gonna give you like 1.7 stops more light output. So it's actually incredibly efficient. You can put this onto the front of your light and it will give you more output. So if you need a little more juice out of your A10 or your A2, your A series at all. So it could be A1, A1X, A10, or A2, this fits onto the front of, I mean, you could probably even put this on the front of the C1 Plus. I haven't messed around with it, but now I'm going to. Sounds awesome. But you could put this on the front of those lights and you're gonna get 1.7 stops more light output. So you're gonna almost quadruple the power, right? Every time you, yeah, exactly. You double the power, another stop, double it again. So yeah, quadruple. So that's pretty cool. Again, just like we were talking about with the gel kit, this is front and back stackable. So if you wanted to, sorry, I know I stepped off. Nice grab, Kate. The cool thing is you can obviously put like a snoot or something on the front of it. You can take, just like I showed you with the gel kit, you can back stack it so you can put something behind it. It's really, really strong. It can hold up to whatever it is you may need. Now, we're going to really quickly, we can go here, we can go there, we can go everywhere. So what we're gonna quickly do is we're gonna have Kate come in here in a second and we're gonna roll through a couple of different shots. I'm gonna stay in TTL mode and I'm gonna read you out the power settings of how things change. But what we're gonna compare is we're gonna show an A2 with just bare bulb firing right at Kate. What we're gonna be looking at is power output versus coverage, right? We'll get into some of the shadows and stuff like that and see kind of how that stuff falls and edges of things and feathering and stuff like that. But we're definitely gonna be looking at power and we're definitely gonna be looking at coverage. We're also gonna bring in the Magnum reflector, the Clic Magnum reflector, and compare that to the Fresnel. So that way you have a good gauge of two modifiers that increase the light output and how the coverage varies. So we're gonna dive into that right now. So you ready to rock and roll, Kate?
Let's do it.
Cool. So again, we're gonna take the first shot of Kate with no, I'm standing right in front of it. So I'll stand off to the side right here so people can kind of see it. Perfect. So the first shot we're gonna take of Kate, we're using an A2. That way we don't have we're not bringing in questioning any of the zoom settings of like the A10 or anything like that. This thing's pretty straightforward in what it is that it does. So we're gonna take this shot of Kate, full body, that way we can actually see the whole scene and see the coverage. So you ready to rock and roll, Kate?
I'm ready, let's do it.
Here we go, first shot A2, bare head, 3, 2, 1. Very cool. So you can see the A2's got a lot of coverage. Waiting for it to pop up on the screen so you can see it there. So it's got a lot of coverage. We're probably, where were you standing at, Kate? So just so for
3 feet off the white.
Yeah, so for reference from the light, we're probably 6 to 8 feet away from the light with Kate. And then Kate is also probably 6 feet away from the background. So yeah, so that's why you're seeing kind of the background go a little more gray, but you see the coverage on Kate, really, really nice. So now, oh, and sorry, so let's talk about power settings. So coverage is good. It falls off a little bit maybe towards the legs, but it's really not that big of a deal. It does a really good job of coverage. I could probably, let's take one more shot. Could you look at this really fast, Kate, and tell me as I'm clicking it down, does that still look like it's pointed at you?
A little bit on my leg. It's low down. There we go. That's good.
Cool, let's try this. We're gonna take one more shot with it aimed down a little bit more, just to see how maybe if the coverage changes a little bit. So here we go, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, so there it goes, a little more even on the leg. So I just needed to point the light down just a touch. You'll see how that changes. Very, very nice. So now let's go and throw on the Fresnel. Nothing else on there, just an A2 and a Fresnel. Again, power setting on that, 9.0. So we're a half power on the light. Shooting at, if it's 100 watt second light, that's 50 watt seconds. So now let's take the next shot and see how that power setting changes. So 3, 2, 1. Really nice. So now we've dropped down to 8.0. So we've gained light, but look how cool and spotted out that light looks. It's got this really, really dramatic vignette, a really, really awesome modifier for a real cool like film noir or old Hollywood look. I mean, that's what they like Hurrell and stuff like that used to use back in the day, whenever, you know, he made his lighting super famous. But it's a really, really nice modifier. Pretty good coverage, a little tight, but again, you can still do some really cool stuff with that. So now let's grab a Clic Magnum reflector and let's see how all this stuff changes.
They can see it.
Yep, they can still see it. So Clic Magnum's going on now instead of the, here we go, and that's still pointed at you. Cool, so here we go. 3, 2, 1. Cool. So with the Clic Magnum, we're at the exact same power setting of 8 that we were with the Fresnel. We have a lot more coverage than we did. I mean, it's still vignetted out. It has a relatively tight beam, but we have more coverage now. Cool thing is we're staying just as efficient with the Clic Fresnel as we are with the Clic Magnum. So depending on what it is that you want or what you're looking to achieve, again, you can maintain the same types of power efficiencies with both these modifiers. You just have to decide, do you need a little bit more coverage? Do you need a little bit less coverage? Now, I will say the dope thing is, and let's just for comparison's sake, you can grid both of these things. You know, you could throw a click grid onto the front of this thing and tighten it up. I'm gonna throw the grid from the Magnum onto it just to see if that feels closer to what the light feels like from the Fresnel, and also again to observe the power settings of something like this. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. Cool. So light-wise, it feels, at least coverage-wise, it has a lot of that Fresnel feel. I would say it might even be a touch tighter, but we'll check that here in a second whenever I pull up the shots to compare side by side. I will say this though, we did lose a half a stop of light by putting that grid on. Grids aren't the most efficient thing in the world. They're trying to get light through a black surface, so there's not a lot of reflection. That's the point of it, but that's going to cause the power to pop up. So we were shooting that at 8.5. So something to maybe think about is if you need to conserve that energy, the Fresnel might be better for something like that. So again, I think we're going to pull up the images right now and relay them side by side. Is there anything before we start looking at images that maybe we're not thinking about?
Looks good.
Cool. Kate approved.
Kate approved.
Cool. So let's grab the laptop. Let's remove the snoot before I throw it across the floor by accident, because that's just what I do. I'm reckless. Here we go. Bring the laptop in and let's look at this stuff side by side. Cool. So, do you just want to pull up? I know our super source setup's a little funk town right there. Yeah, we'll pull up that. So let's go and look at the. Let's look at the 3 light shapers side by side first, just so we can kind of see what's going on here. So one of the things that I see right off the bat, and it has to do with some of the reflections of how that light's managed inside of the Magnum, is we do have a small double shadow here. You can see on Kate with the Magnum, and then if you look here.
So which is which?
Yeah, so the Magnum is the one with the double shadow. So the one here in the middle is, so right here, nothing, that's bare bulb of the A2, that's the shot on the left. The shot in the middle is with the Fresnel, and the shot on the right is with the Magnum.
Thank you.
So the nice thing here is you can see that the shadow's a lot cleaner with the Fresnel than it is with the Magnum, but what you're losing is some coverage, okay? So you're giving up a little bit of coverage. As far as like the like shadows, like let's check under the chin. The double shadow is not that big of a deal up under the chin and stuff like that. It is slightly pronounced, but it kind of just plays more as a longer feathering of the shadow. Let's see here. Light quality wise on the face, I would say that the Magnum, because of the silver interior, has a little bit more contrast on the face than the Fresnel does. Her cheeks have a little bit more sheen to them than they do, and let me back out and make sure that I'm not just making up something. It does look like the Magnum has a little bit more sheen to the skin, a little more pop to the skin than the Fresnel does, but all in all, the Fresnel is a really, really pretty modifier. Look at how the vignette falls off. Look how even and smooth that is. It's a really cool modifier that's, again, so tiny. I mean, this thing is super thin. It's really easy. I mean, honestly, you could throw this onto your A2 or your A10 and throw it in the bag and roll with it. So it's an easy modifier to pack, and it has the benefits of having more light output. Now, let's show you the comparison of the Clic Fresnel. All right, let's cut you out. The comparison of the Clic Fresnel coverage and the Magnum with the grid. So right off the bat, Magnum with the grid, a little bit tighter. I think that's what I said earlier when we were talking, but from what I can see here, it's a touch tighter, but not by much. It's minuscule. So now, I would say, you know, if you have the ability to, if the look of that Fresnel is something that you like and you can't afford to give up that half a stop of light, that could be a deal breaker when it comes to, you know, do you go with the Fresnel or do you go with the Magnum? If you already have the Magnum and you're not having any problems with your power output, again, because it's a really efficient light, as far as the coverage goes, you're in the same ballpark. Let's see on the skin again. Let's see if we have a difference in the sheen. Actually, I feel like these are starting to get a little bit, yeah, these are a little bit closer. A little Kate peeking out of the side right there. But I feel like as far as like the sheen on the skin with the Magnum, it's a little bit closer. You still have that double shadow. So if you look right here, you can see that double shadow that we were talking about. It does still here on the background, it's a little more exacerbated underneath like a chin or something like that. Here, let's go up here to the chin again. So here it just plays like a long feather. So it's not that big of a deal actually on the subject. But really, 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 really cool stuff. And that's it. So I think that was a pretty solid comparison between one, the A2 with nothing on it, and the Fresnel, and the Magnum. Because I think the first thing that people are going to ask when you even think about it, when you start looking at these specs, you're going to be like, oh, these things both produce more light than the actual light that it started with. So what is the actual difference? And I think we did a pretty good job of breaking down the differences. The upside for the narrow, or I always call it the narrow beam because the beam's so tight, But the upside for the Fresnel is it's super compact and you're gaining a ton of light output. The upside for the Magnum is you have the ability to go wider with your light coverage, and then you can throw the grid on to tighten it back up if you need to. And then again, you still have that big bump in light output. 1.7 stops more light out than what you put into it. So really, really cool stuff. With that being said, I don't think I missed anything. If you have any other questions, we're about to flip out of this video and you'll be talking to me one-on-one, and we can discuss any of that stuff here and there, and I can bring up some more of the images, and we can kind of dive into that stuff. So in the meantime, throwing it back to myself. Peace out, everybody. Apparently my actual edit cut on the end there just chopped out. That was super weird. Maybe it was a transition, whatever. But Hatted Chris is here. So Jacob was asking, is it possible to compare the Fresnel to the 20-degree grid? I'm not sure if you were actually talking about this 20-degree grid, Jacob, the actual Fresnel, or it's not the Fresnel, the actual Clic grid, or if you were just talking about the 25-degree grid that we threw onto the front of the Clic Magnum reflector. When I was talking earlier about the actual beam angle of the Fresnel, and I was like, it's about 33 degrees. That was pretty close, 34. So the grid for the Magnum is 25 or 20. Now, see, I start thinking about numbers and I start like not being able to remember anything. Stand by. I've got to get this now, because I'm going to drive myself absolutely bonkers if I don't have that correct information. Oh, here is my Magnum. Oh, it is a 20. Okay, cool. So I'm not sure if, Jacob, if you're talking about the 20 degrees of this grid right here, but obviously this is going to be a little bit tighter beam spread than the 34 degrees that you're going to get from the Fresnel. But again, you can't really beat the compactness of the Fresnel. That kind of old Hollywood look. It's really, really cool. Again, easy to carry with you. I mean, heck, you could throw it in the front of your flash and just roll with it to a shoot like that. And your space is, again, you're really compact. Let's see. You were talking about the Clic grid. Oh, gotcha, cool. So hopefully the I figured the Clic Magnum grid's going to be roughly the same. The only difference is the light quality is going to be a little bit harder with the Clic grid, but yeah, they should be roughly the same. Cool. Hey, what's up, Nico? I see you out there. Again, really, really cool modifiers. Pretty straightforward stuff. Again, they're all stackable. I have like modifiers everywhere, so I can show things and then things get all messed up and stuff. But again, the cool thing about this stuff is, again, with the Fresnel, you could forward and back stack it with tons of modifiers. You could throw gels back behind it. You could use the gel holder and the Fresnel together, so which is kind of cool. So you have a lot of options, and what's really, really cool is the whole Clic system is really starting to round out. You have a lot of stuff from now gels and gel holders to do customized type stuff like that, to Fresnels, to a hard reflector like the Magnum that's going to give you some output, and then you have all the Clic soft boxes. So I think it's really starting to shape up pretty nicely. Yeah, and the Fresnel with the barn doors, Jacob, would be killer. So I don't think I see any more questions. Again, this stuff is pretty straightforward. I think the comparison was right on the money. Thanks for kicking it with us. We're going to be kind of in this capacity for the next few weeks, as both Kate and I are traveling for multiple different things, but we have some cool stuff to show. Any plans for a Fresnel attachment for the B1D2? You never know. You never know what we have in store, but we are always trying to expand our light shipping tool lineup. So, I will take your suggestion for that right there, and I will send it to our R&D department, because the more that I can show them that people want something, the more likely it is to come to fruition. It's this same thing I told to Leica shooters forever who were asking for a Leica remote. They got loud enough, and now there's a Leica remote. So it's just supply and demand, pretty much what it comes down to. So with that being said, I don't think I have anything else to add to it. So I'm going to make sure I'm not missing anything. Fingers crossed, Jacob. I really appreciate all the questions today. With that being said, I hope you all have an amazing rest of your week. Again, we'll be back like this next week with some fun stuff that we're actually going to do an outside live next week. So yeah, it should be a really, really good time. In the meantime, make sure let's see. Don't we have a Fresnel? Nico saying, don't we have a Fresnel? It's like 2,700 or something. So currently, the only big Fresnel we offer is kind of like, the Pro Fresnel. It's like this gigantic thing. We used to have a small Fresnel small that was discontinued a few years ago. But you never know what's in the pipeline for us. So hopefully we'll have something that we could replace that smaller thing with sometime in the future. Who knows? But cool. All the notifications. So in the meantime, have an awesome rest of your week. We will see you next week for Geared Up. Peace out, everybody.